You, in 2019, when I was up here my second time, you and I went to Starbucks, and we were in conversation. We were talking about things, and I was asking you questions and such, and I think you just stopped. You kind of looked at me to the side, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but you said, "Are you fighting the call to preach?" And I was just like, I think I am.
Hey, Pastor, how you doing today?
Fantastic.
I've never, ever said that.
The Jeter vibe is rolling.
Oh, my word.
We're going to be here
From
way
the top.
too long.
Here we go. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Between Sundays, Pastor. It's great to see you today.
So glad to be here.
Yeah, what a great day. It's a Monday where we're recording right now, which is in Nashville.
Yeah, exactly. And again, what makes it so special is we have some amazing guests with us today.
Yes, we do. Why are they here?
Well, first, because we just love them, and they're a great family, and we're so thankful for Brother and Sister Jeter. They hail from Bentonville, Arkansas, and we've known Brother Jeter. He's let us know this for a long time.
He did.
And so he is actually, and she and their family is actually with us for our VBS.
Yeah.
And my.
Amazing.
We had a fantastic VBS, and one of our values is that we love kids. One of the things that we have learned is that one of the signs of a decreasing church is the silence of children. And so noise means there's life. And so, again, we can take that a lot of different directions, but that is a real sign when there is a diminishing noise of children in a church. That is not a healthy sign. And so we invest heavily and we love our children. We believe that God is using them and doing great things. We've learned that if children can sin, they can also be anointed. And so we also believe that you need to impart to them. And so Brother and Sister Jeter has come to help us with our VBS.
Yeah. Before we give them a chance just to say hello, just a big shout out to the Walmers and their team for all the energy and effort was so over the top good. It was really amazing. So just like
wonderful.
So good. And then of course the Jeters, since I think he said last night, since 2018, which is wild to think about. So guys, we're so honored to have you. I call them Justin and Hillary. Yep. I know Brother and Sister Jeter is very official, but if you guys are okay, I'm just going to call you Justin and Hillary in this podcast.
I'll take it.
So we're so honored to have you guys with us today.
Thank you for having us. It's been amazing to be here.
It's great to be here, and Brother Jeter is my dad, so
yeah, that's right.
Justin works well.
Yeah. Well, we could go a lot of different directions today. The Jeters are involved in a lot of different things that would apply to things we talk about in the podcast. And I'll just say this too, like we've had so much fun with them over the last 4 days. Like they are real deal people, like people that you enjoy being around. And we don't ask people who are not like that on the podcast, right?
Yeah, we don't want people to get bored, for sure.
So if not that anyone who ever comes through who doesn't end up on the podcast, not that they listen to our podcast, right? Because our podcast is very much focused on our local church. And then it's just kind of splashes to whoever else. But if somebody who's ever preached at our church wasn't on the podcast, now they're questioning.
What did I do?
Yeah, so I guess I'm not a really cool, down-to-earth person. That's not true, okay? I almost said a name, but I shouldn't say a name, right?
No.
Okay. So what do we want to talk about with the Jeters today?
Yeah, I'm going to set the table here. What I have known and what I've come to discover about Justin and Hillary is they have a very wonderful and blessed life. And not perfect, but there's a lot of great things, great parts about it that have been intriguing to me, and to watch it in display as much as I can. It really piqued my interest. And let me just make that very clear. You are heavily involved in ministry at your church. You are part of a great church, a growing church, a revival church. I know your pastor, Chantry Dean, and that church just continues to ratchet up, and you're part of the integral workings of that church. You also run a business. You guys are entrepreneurs, a very successful business. People have there's some notoriety in that. There's some, again, a lot of things that I would love for you to share a little bit about that. But again, that's a growing part of your life.
It is.
You're also parents. Mm-hmm. You have 2 wonderful children, again, and they're, again, take a lot of energy, a lot of focus. And I know you pay a lot of attention to that. And then you want to survive all this through your marriage. And so a lot of this in my mind is where there are families and individuals they find themselves in. They have dreams and aspirations. Church is an integral part of their life. They're trying to raise a family, keep their home healthy, their marriage together. And you guys have all of those things. So the way I guess we should start this is I'd love for you to just take a moment or two and talk about those areas. Let's start with Church First Ministry. What are you involved with? What do you guys do? And just kind of describe that.
Yeah. So we moved to Bentonville, Arkansas, and we attend Calvary Church. Joined that church November 2014, and we were brought on to be the children's pastors. And so at that time, church was much smaller. Maybe we were rejoicing the day that we saw 50 kids in our children's ministry.
Wow.
I remember that. And that was probably a year or two into being at Calvary Church. 2020, I went full time with the church as family pastor. So with that was a developing role. It was conversations that came out of it. It was, we want to put an emphasis on family ministry within our church. We have things that we've done, but it's never been a focus strategy planned out for the year kind of thing. It's always just been whenever we can get to it, or we haven't done it in a while. So now let's do a marriage conference, or let's do this or that. So it's just bringing a focus to that. And that was an opportunity that we had, that sitting down with my pastor was being able to develop that. So I would say that we're still in the development of that role of what family ministry looks like at our church. We're 6 years into it. But at this time, I still oversee our children's ministry, the day-to-day tasks with that. That's a large portion of it. As the church continues to grow, we get more families that come in. So I get to help with the discipleship pathway of our families, new members, new families coming in, making sure they're connected, getting them through what we call our grow class, our new members class. And then I also oversee our men's ministry and making sure that we have a plan and a strategy for our men's ministry throughout the year, making sure that's getting executed, as well as any of our family events that we have throughout the year. We have 3 or 4 big events that we do that kind of are just, they were church-wide, but kind of, the idea is promoted towards families and young families. And then we do a marriage conference and a family conference every year. And so oversee that. Premarital counseling. I get to do premarital counseling. And so it's been awesome to see that we've been there long enough now that some of the kids and young people that we were kind of transitioning to the youth ministry our first year, getting to sit down and do premarital counseling with them now. So amazing to see the life cycle of being at a church long enough to start seeing the fruit of things, and seeing those kids then grow up in the youth ministry, now in young adult ministry, seeing them lead in different areas, returning back into kids ministry and being leaders in kids ministry, being a support to young families or young parents that are now, having children or having their first child, and coming to us as that resource or that mentor, or just being able to encourage them and help them through that. So we touch a lot of areas. My wife is heavily involved in like our early education. So that would be like pre-K and below in those ages, and she does a phenomenal job. We see that as a big setup to our primary ages. So we see the impact of that as they come up into primary grade levels, that we see that they've been trained up well and not needing to catch up or anything like that. So they're doing a great job there. So yeah, we get to touch a lot of areas of the church.
Yeah, again, all of that is full-time. All of that is busy work, all the important work. And that's just one part of your life. There's another part that is just as thriving, and that is an entrepreneur part of your life. And Hillary, I'd love for you to kind of describe that for our listeners as well.
Yeah. So when we moved here, Justin was part-time at the church, and then full-time working in the corporate environment until he went full-time at the church. And at that time, I was working full-time as well through when Benton was born, which was in 2017. And in 2020, I took a gifting that I have and then part of my life that was just so enjoyable to me, and made it, I guess, a moneymaker. Turned my hobby into a business. And that I started Clutter Away NWA, which is an in-home organizing company located in Northwest Arkansas. And I've always enjoyed organizing, creating calm out of chaos, bringing systems to people's spaces. And I had a friend who asked me to come help her with her pantry just for fun because she knew I liked to do it and she needed the help. And I had the idea that if I take pictures of this, I could use this as my portfolio, quote unquote, and maybe get this started. And so I did that. And sure enough, one of her friends saw it. And I said, okay, don't tell your friend I did it for you for free. I wanted to see if I can charge her a little bit of money to do her closet. And then that friend told a friend, and it continued that way. At this time, I was working 5 days a week with my son. I was a nanny and I was bringing him with me. And so then on Saturdays, I was going and doing this extra paid work. And so, of course, as a minister, Sundays is also a work day. So between the two of us, we were working 7 days a week for a little while there as this got off the ground. And so I did go to my employer and ask, can I go down to 4 days a week? And so I can organize on Fridays. And then the demand increased and I was, 5 or 6 weeks out for clients to wait. So I went down to 3 days a week at my nanny job and 2 days organizing. And then I realized if I organize 3 days a week, I make the same amount as if I work nannying 5 days a week. So if I can get 3 clients a week, I could quit nannying and I can go full time as my own boss. And I remember in one of our staff meetings at church telling, after we talked to pastor, kind of explaining to the group what I was about to transition through and just begging for their prayer. I was like, I'm about to take this leap of faith and not have what we would call steady income. I was going to be responsible for finding my own leads and finding my own clients and writing my own paychecks at this point, which was terrifying because we didn't have margin in our life to make anything less than what we were making. And so I needed the Lord to bless it and multiply it. And I remember, coming to tears in that meeting. And I'm not sure if anybody else, felt the same weight I felt because I was the only one in that boat, but they were very supportive. And in 2021, I hired my first assistant, and it has grown since then, continued to be just blessed. And the reputation that precedes my company now is just a huge blessing to our family. And I now own the company. I've split it with 2 other people. So I'm a third. I'm one of 3 owners, and delegating, these tasks so that I can continue to grow, and delegating authority, and delegating all kinds of positions and roles so that I can continue to grow the company. It continues to bless my family financially, but also ultimately, my goal with it was to have flexibility to be home with my kids. And I didn't want to birth my children and then never see them. So having this opportunity, God has really given everything I wanted out of it and more. And so now it's a huge blessing, and the flexibility allows us to travel together for things like this. But still at the same time, I'm not, taking off work and losing any income because of it, as, my co-owner keeps things running and the clients are still coming in as we're here. So
and you've already been recognized in shows, been invited to be a part of shows. Describe that a little bit.
That was so fun. Yes. So we were, there's a show called Fixer to Fabulous that is based out of Northwest Arkansas, and it airs on HGTV. And the host for that, Jenny and Dave Mars, they had reached out to us to help them with their personal home when they did a renovation there. And so that kind of has started a relationship with the hosts of the show. And so now we've done 3 episodes with them between their own personal, and then they do a lot of charitable work. So we helped with a St. Jude patient, their home, and then we helped with a Habitat for Humanity home, and we're able to kind of participate on that end of things. So that was a lot of fun to have that opportunity opened up to us.
Yeah, just so inspiring. And again, taking that step, that risk, and, believing that, hey, God can be with us. And then just seeing the fruit of that is really inspiring to a lot of people that, wonder, if I do this, can I land on my feet? Will I survive? And you working through as a family. That is busy enough, but that's not all your lives. You also have family. Right.
Yes.
So I'd love for you guys to just talk a little bit about your family, your marriage, your kids, just to let our audience know, hey, this is a full life here.
How long have we been married?
14.
14 years.
Wow.
That's right. 14 years.
You didn't remember that?
Well, I wanted to make sure she remembered.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
You do get to a point where you're like, oh,
Wink, wink.
a long time.
Yeah.
Been married 14 years. We have 2 kids, a 9-year-old named Benton and a 4-year-old named Waverly. And I would say with what's been amazing for us and our family, and I know this is something that we do our best to not take for granted. It's not everybody's privilege to be able to do this, or neither do they have the opportunity. But with my role at the church being full-time, there does come some of the perks of that is flexibility. And so with her being able to start her business and things like, hey, I'm going to work 2 days a week. I'm going to organize 2 days. I'm going to nanny 3 days, and all this scheduling, things like that. I was able to have the flexibility to be with our son. And so with both of our kids, since they were young, I think Benton was 2 or 3 when we started Daddy Days,
Mm-hmm.
which was one day a week in the middle of the week. And for Benton, sometimes 2 days a week, where I would have him for the entire day. And it was just me and him. And so it was just adventure with dad days kind of thing. And we would go out, and we have a very active community, sidewalks, and we'd go bike rides. We'd go to the park. We'd do all these things. So we were able to spend a lot of time together since he was an older 2, a younger 3-year-old. And then when Waverly was born, she just started getting included in those. And so, from being 2 or 3 months old.
I think it was like 6 weeks.
6 weeks old. Okay, maybe
My
6
first
weeks
session,
old. She
she was
started
6
going
weeks
back
old.
out to organizing again. And then so now it's me and the 2 kids. And so that was at least one day a week where I was with both kids all day. And so I feel like the benefit of that is that I have been able to spend a lot more time than the typical father has been able to spend with his children. And again, there's been hard times with that. It's times where you're like, man, I just really wish I could just like go into the office and disconnect or just get some work done or whatever. But in the moment, I'm like, man, I get to do this. I get to be with my kids. And so that's a dynamic that I would say is a little different than other family dynamics, is that we have been able to spend a lot more time than the typical parents get to. And again, I don't want to ever take that for granted. I think it builds our relationship in connection with our family to make it stronger in that way. And so I highlight that as a dynamic of our family. Do you have anything else to add to that?
I would agree that. I think the flexibility of what he does has matched the tone of what I do in such a way and complemented it so that it can be successful. I think he'll tell you like, oh, she built this company by herself. But like there is a support system that has been created in our home that has allowed for that. And there's a flexibility. And for me, I'm a very I like a good schedule. I like knowing what's coming. So this type of entrepreneurship has been a huge learning curve for me to be flexible and to at 9 p.m. the night before, hey, I just booked a job for tomorrow. Can you watch the kids from 7 to 3? Or can you take them to their dentist appointment? He's taking them to their haircuts, their dentist appointment. He's very involved as far as making sure that whatever's on the schedule, they do it, whether I'm, available or not. And so he's been flexible with me as I've been with him. And I take the kids, for a week at a time while he does camps or VBSs. And so there is an ebb and flow and there is seasons. And to zoom out and see your life as a whole rather than, this whole week I had the kids all by myself or whatever it might be, seeing our life as a holistic organism has been important to keep us grounded and not feel like, well, I did all, not keeping count, right? Like I did all this so that you could go do that. Yeah. It's very complimentary and having both of us on board with that. Of course, there's times of friction when it's, unbalanced for a season or busier for me for a season and then slower for him and then slower for me and then busier for him. So keeping in mind that we are on the same team and that the ultimate goals as far as our marriage and keeping our family intact, those things do come before our jobs, and to make sure that our children are well balanced with our attention and with our involvement has been key. So just making sure that we're on the same page. There's a lot of communication that has to happen and a lot of planning that comes with making sure we all stay on board.
Yeah. So the interesting part to me as I watch your life or hear about your life, is as rosy as it is. And it is a blessed life. Like I'm so proud of you and grateful for what you have accomplished. There are tension points and there are frictions, as you have noted. And there are moments where, is this working? What's not working? Where you feel comfortable. I'd love for you to pull back the curtain a little bit and say, okay, these are some things that we've learned. These have been things that we are working through. This is still ongoing. And again, the reason I ask that, and I know that's a little bit personal, is because I feel like there are a lot of people in these moments, like, how do we make our lives work? How do we come out of this alive? How do we live our best life and live out our purpose with God, and us still love each other, and us still have a healthy home? No illusions of perfection, but really it doesn't have to be a drain either. Right. And there are seasons. So again, I'd love for you to pull back the curtain a little bit and talk about those tension points.
So a few years ago, I would say that we started what we call family business meetings. And
like in your family. Yeah.
Yes.
Family business meetings.
Is there a note taker?
No.
Yeah, right.
This was before AI.
Wow.
Family business meetings. And I think that's where we really started trying to figure out how we were going to make this work. And of course, it came through like constant tension, butting heads on this, trying to figure this out. And then it would, it escalates to the point where you do have a lot of tension between each other. And then you're like, okay, why do we keep going through this cycle? Oh, like, that's what it is. There's, the expectation hasn't been set, or you have your expectations, I have mine, and they're not matching. So how do we come to the table and align those things for our week or for our month? And for us, since things do change quite a bit with church ministry, very demanding on your schedule and your time, and you're kind of working often on other people's schedules, you're trying to figure these things out. And then with her, if she's booking clients or she's got things going on with kids. And so we're trying to figure these things out. So family business meeting was sitting down on, a Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, and it was going through the week, and it was addressing these things, talking about the schedule, making sure our calendars are aligned. And it went through everything of, it's morphed in different areas or different ways, but it even addressed relationship and stuff like that. We'd go through a devotion or ask questions like, hey, how can I serve you this week? What are some areas that, you feel like are missed? What are some areas, what's some wins and opportunities that we have? It's just kind of going through and having heart-to-heart conversations. We'd get through the business stuff, then it's relationship stuff. It's connection points. Hey, when can we fit a date night on the calendar? When can we have some time to connect on the calendar without the kids? Find a babysitter, twice a month. It's kind of just talking about the big picture and getting it out on paper. We're visual people, so we would have maybe a calendar just put onto the refrigerator, written out. Yeah, we have it on our phones too, but it's there in front of us, at the forefront of us. As we're walking through the house or through the kitchen and things like that. So that was, I think, a game changer for us, getting into this new way of finding a new normal that had consistent change as well. So it was just coming to the table, having those what we call family business meetings. Now it's a little quicker. Now it's just a touch point because we kind of have our flow, our rhythm. It's a little more consistent now for us. But it was a couple of years of trying to figure out what that looked like and different versions of that family business meeting. So that was game changer. Like I said, now we're in the rhythm of things a little bit better. There's obviously some high points, low points where we're trying to figure out the schedule. Summertime picks up a lot more in traveling for me. And so, we just need to be more communication more frequently throughout the week. Maybe things are changing middle of the week, so we're having to reconnect on that point. But do you have anything to add to that?
Excuse me. I would just add that remembering that you're on the same team. Like the best advice I've ever heard was like, give your spouse the benefit of the doubt. That they are not just pitted against you. They're not trying to make your life harder. They're not trying to prevent you from being successful at your job. They're not trying to prevent you from having peace at home. So giving them the benefit of the doubt and communicating with that through that lens has been has created big improvement for us overall, that we are on the same team. We do have the same goals, even though we're kind of at opposite ends as far as me with entrepreneurship, him being in ministry full time. That, I mean, those are two polar opposite, careers, or how, lots in life, as you would say. So finding the way to blend those two has been quite the challenge. And like he said, we're not perfect, we're not there, but communication and over communication are pretty much the same thing. Like, you have to over communicate in order to communicate at all. And keeping those lines of communication open. Sometimes our text threads just look like a business meeting. Are you coming? Yes, 9:30. I'll be there. He's ready. Come take him. It's very, sometimes I'm like, oh, it doesn't look like a married couple. It looks more like,
business partner.
It does. Yeah. But sometimes that's okay, because that's just what needs to happen, and bringing some of that flexibility. And when he travels, the week before he travels and the week after he travels are kind of a no-go for him as well. The week leading up to it, he's prepping everything for him to be out of town at his local church. So he's getting, curriculum ready, scheduling is ready, and then he's prepping the sermons and everything for his week out of town. And then when he comes back, he's got to play catch up on everything from his job. And so having that, making sure that I'm not just expecting him to come home and drop everything and now be at my beck and call, aligning those expectations is important, and understanding how the ebb and flow of each of our careers is working. But bringing on those partners was a game changer for me, because I was able to delegate not just tasks, but actual authority. And so now I was the one who is hiring and firing and training and scheduling and lead intake and social media and all of it. And it was more than a full-time job. And so once I was able to make enough money to offload hiring and firing, so HR, we now have a director of people and culture, and to offload inventory, we have an inventory manager, and to offload social media, we have a social media manager. Once I was able to offload those things, the way it opened up our lives to have more margin was a game changer. And for me, letting go of that control of social media, like, that's my brand, that's my reputation, that's my baby. But I had to realize that this was much more demanding than I could keep up with. So offloading those things was a game changer for me. And I think Justin is well on his way to doing the same thing within family ministry, that there are certain things that he can offload and delegate to create some more margin for those weeks that he is out of pocket, where he's going to be unavailable to handle tasks locally. So being able to do those things, it's not just us anymore doing everything. That has been a key for us, is to offload the things that we are able to and the things that we can, so we can focus on the more important things.
Yeah, and again, you've learned some of this is through the dings and the pain, right? You learn. So when you look back on this, what would you do differently? Like, again, I wish we would have handled that, or we would have faced or made a different decision. What would you do differently?
I would do it sooner, offload. I feel like I did it when we could financially within the company. Like, we need to make so much money X to pay the owners, and then, pay salaries, and then we can pay people to offload. But if I probably would have pinched pennies somewhere else to do it sooner. If I could go back and do it again and save some of the strife of just being overextended in so many areas, or even on social media, spending so much time editing. That's not my gifting. So it was very difficult and took a lot of time for me to research and edit and put together content and get it out there. So I think I would do it sooner and figure out a way to make it happen sooner if I could, to create that margin, because you don't get that time back. You just don't. Yeah.
Justin?
On my side of it, I think I would have, to do it different, would have, I think I realized not too late in the game, but later in ministry, that I don't need to be an expert in necessarily children's ministry. I need to be an expert in leading the people that are in my ministry. And so some of the most successful children's pastors and children's ministries I see is that the children's pastor isn't necessarily the expert in the room on ministering to children. He's an expert in leading the people that are ministering to the children. And so he's creating and building up ministry leaders. And we went in at a point in a place in the church where there was very little children's ministry happening, to where we took upon a lot of that ourselves. And we did that for several years. And so we kind of built children's ministry on our backs. And so now we're in a place, in an opportunity now over the last couple of years where we're now trying to offload. We're getting some of that off of us, and we're raising up children's ministers and that team. And so those are one of those things where I look back and I wish that would have been a focus of it from the beginning. It's not like, oh yeah, I know children's ministry. Yeah. I can go in this. I can minister to kids. And so going in and focusing on feeding and leading the people who were directly connected to the kids, to the children. And I think that kind of goes across the board in all ministries.
There's a phrase, I think it's a book called Who, Not How.
Mm-hmm.
You guys heard of that?
Yes.
I think a lot of, whether it's business or ministry, a lot of times we get hung up on how am I going to accomplish all of this, right? And sometimes there's multiple reasons as to that, whether it's, capital, you can't pay somebody, or control is the other one. I don't want to release these things.
Yes.
But the result is almost always the same, right? You're going to hit a ceiling fast, right?
Yes.
And so on both sides, what I hear that is setting up your business and your ministry for success is bringing more people around you who can create more margin in your life to do the things that only you can do, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think that's a challenge in both worlds. Like I'm sitting on this side of the table and I'm seeing two totally different worlds, and it's admirable how you guys are able to navigate all of that, But I think you guys just gave us some massive insight as to key lessons that were learned along that journey, where a lot of probably the tension was caused is, you guys were just maxed out in these areas, And then another thing I'll admire about you guys, and then let you talk a little bit about, I would say people look at you guys as you're very disciplined people across the board, it seems, health-wise, discipline, like, your schedule. We're hearing like there's a lot of, the other word is intentionality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I see, we've hung out this weekend. I see intentionality about the decisions you make, time, like there's a lot of intentionality there. So I'm putting myself in, I try to always think from like the people listening, like how are they hearing this? And there's the risk that they could hear this and think, oh, this is just the Jeters. They're just like, wow, like that's unattainable. Yeah. Like I'm never going to be a business owner and then traveling in the summer and doing like that sounds like the dream. That's not my life. I'm just over here hanging on by a thread, at my 9 to 5 and blah, blah, blah. And that's real. Like that's real. So like in a practical, tangible way, like how do you take, it's like people would look at you as like superheroes. Like how do you demystify some of that, to be, and I'm saying that, and you guys are not those people, to be clear. You're not over there like, yeah, you got that right. I don't care how big your arms are.
Wait, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Me, of course.
Well, you're the only one wearing short sleeves. Let's just be honest.
People can't see.
Yeah. This is why we don't do video podcasts. Actually, we normally do video podcasts. Today we're not.
Today we're not distracted.
Oh, no.
So how do you think of it from the young mom, or just that I hate to say like the average American family, like how do they take all of what we just talked about and like, okay, where do they start? Like what would you say someone who is they're in the tension zone, right? They are, and what would you if they were sitting right here? What advice would you give them?
A quote that comes to my mind frequently, and I say it to myself and I say it to others frequently as well, is small decisions made over a long period of time make the biggest impact.
Wow. Yeah.
And like I necessarily can't go back because some of those decisions are so small that I can't even remember what that first decision was.
Wow.
But I just know that is the story of our life, is that it didn't start, with, hey, let's go to the gym 7 days a week. Let's only eat organic food. Like it didn't start there. It started at some point with a really small decision that saw the impact of that decision and said, hey, let's make another small decision. And I know we've done that in our in our finances. We have always, since before we got married, we were having financial conversations, and hey, we want to be good stewards. We want to be givers. We want to give joyfully and sacrificially. We want to give out of abundance. Those were conversations we were having. We talked about dreams. I remember one of our date nights was we went to a restaurant that had like butcher paper on the table, and they put just like pins and crowns or whatever on it. And I remember we just like started making crayons or however you say it, pistachios. They had.
So did he serve bagels?
They had bagels there, and spaghetti there as well was for dinner. But I just remember us like listing just like dreams, like, hey, where do we want to, like, what are some dream vacations? What are some dream cities you'd want to go? Like, how much money do you want to see in our savings account? Like, where do we want to do this or that? And it was just like, it just started there, just throwing things, making a dream wall or whatever. And that was just like a spontaneous thing. But our whole life, our marriage has just been, I think, just that, going back to it, small decisions made over a long period of time. And now we get to see the fruit of that in our lives, in business and ministry and family. It's nothing that I can say that we ever expected it to be this way, but we're sitting in it now, and just so filled with gratitude and thankfulness for it. Again, I wish I could go back to what that first decision was that kind of launched it all. But again, I think it was such a small choice and a small decision.
Yeah.
That it took off from there, and we've just never kind of forgotten that.
It reminds me of a phrase I heard once called "dream small." You heard of that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so in a world where everything is like we want to think what the end is,
mm-hmm.
and you miss what you just described is all of these little things that have to be accomplished along the way. And it was actually my wife. We were talking, and she was like, like I'm not like this big dreamer. Like I don't have all of these, big major goals and aspirations. It's like, I want to have a great relationship with my kids.
Right.
It's like all of these small quote, I'm using quotations they can't see, small dreams
mm-hmm.
that you look back as you're saying, and you're like, man, look at what God has done in our life through all of these intentional decisions. Pastor, he just said it, I think on Father's Day. He said, you're born looking like your dad, but you die looking like your decisions.
Mm.
And that's crazy, right? Like, and that's anybody listening or us today, and just sitting at this table is like, we all resonate with that. And you really do that in reflection. Like you're thinking, man, if I would have just started sooner,
Yes.
Man, I wish I could have, most of those adjustments is like, I wish I would have done something a little bit different. But what I'm hearing you say is, we'll start today
mm-hmm.
with the smallest of decisions. Who is it James Clear that writes the book about habits?
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits,
yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Where he talks about if you want to go to the gym and you have no habit of going to the gym, set your alarm, get in your car, go to the gym, open the door, go back out, get in your car, and go home.
Yep.
Because you just created a habit of, I do go to the gym.
Just go.
Just do you didn't lift any weight. You didn't
mm-hmm.
do it. You probably went to McDonald's and had breakfast after that, but you went to the gym today.
Yep.
Man, that's a great accomplishment.
They're small and they're cumulative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it builds over time. So I think that's great advice for wherever, whether it's a mom and her kids or, business or ministry or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving that needle is going to be slow and arduous. And in a world of fast paced and quick, that is probably one of the most difficult things to come to terms with, is that the needle is going to move slowly, because that's how life works. You're not going to lose the weight the first time you lift a weight as much as you would like to. You're not going to have your, a $50,000 client in the first 6 months of your, opening a business. But as you make decisions that point towards that goal, that is where the success comes over time. You have to be willing, but you also have to be patient. And we're going to be celebrating 6 years in the business this year. And some of the milestones that didn't come until year 5 are, if we hadn't held on, we never would have seen that success, or we never would have seen that open door or that opportunity, or, sending out our biggest bid ever. Like, we have doubled, tripled, quadrupled our goals over time. But year one, we were just like, can I pay somebody $15 an hour? I don't know. We'll see at the end of the month if we have money left, and now we're at the point where we provide, resources. We provide jobs for 17 girls. And so to me, that's 17 families who rely on us, which is such a privilege, but also such a burden, but it is a blessing to see that. But that never would have come to fruition if we hadn't made those small, cumulative, intentional decisions along the way. I didn't start with $250,000 in payroll. I didn't start with, having a social media manager from day one, but getting to where that was one step at a time, small and incremental, but you can't lose sight. You have to be willing to stay on course and make those small course corrections over time so that you end up in the place you want to be.
Let me ask you a question this way, and the wisdom is so good. Again, it's not one giant leap. It's not one evil jump. It's just one steady, consistent step at a time. Of all you've learned and all you've been through, what is still a unsolved or a tension that you're still managing through all the complexities, all the margin you've made, all the good decisions you made? What is still needs work?
See, so I'm talking about this is perfect.
Yeah. I think it's like, well, how do you put into words?
How vulnerable do I want to be?
That's right. It's like,
whatever you feel comfortable. But I think again, this is where
Open
people
book.
live, right?
Yeah.
And this is where we all learn. And so, however you feel comfortable, because you do have a lot of success, but that doesn't mean it's all success.
Correct.
Yeah. I would say that that we still fight, and not in the argument. I know, right? I said that as like a grabber, you can clip that and say like, yeah, we still fight.
Yeah.
No, what we fight for, I think, is we're finding that we have to fight for more things. Like we have to fight for our marriage, and it's not that we're fighting against bad things. These are all good things. But I'm like, for me, I see it from this perspective of, like, hey, our kids can take a lot of time out of our marriage and then we stop focusing on our marriage. Mm-hmm. And our kids are wonderful and we love them. But like our marriage is the most important part of all of this. At the center of our relationship is our marriage. And so if this isn't strong, then our kids suffer from that. And then our business, our ministry, all those things suffer from that. So I feel like we're having to change what we fighting for in a sense of we have to be more intentional about time that's spent with one another and focusing on one another. And our date nights, our alone time, our connection time, like we've been able to in this year now with where we're at, put on the calendar consistent time.
Weekly.
But even then, weekly.
It used to be very like, once a month,
and
twice a month.
Ours is at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. We found what worked for us. We drop off our kids at school and we meet at a coffee shop and we get to have an hour alone and have conversation and catch up on our week, see how things are going. We tried not to have too much. That's not our family business meeting time. That's just our, how are you doing? How are things going? Celebrate, she does talk about some things that she had, great conversations she had, opportunities that are coming. I get to talk about those things too, but it's just celebrating, it's just connecting. And for a lot of people, that might be not on 9 a.m. on Wednesday. And it took us a long time to figure out when that would work. And we fought a lot for that time. But now we have settled, we've won. Now that time is our time. And so I would say that there are still areas that we just have to be intentional about that get out of balance, and we're fighting for those things. So it's never, I think that's kind of just what I think I'm trying to get to is like, that's just the attitude you have to have. Mm-hmm. Like there are so many things and they're pulling for our attention and our time, and it's been out of balance. And sometimes those are seasons, but make sure they're seasons and not permanent. And then learn when to step up and say, hey, listen, this is out of balance. It's time that I got to fight for this time. We need to figure this out. And we go to bat for our marriage, our relationship, our time together. This is funny because I tell my kids, I love my mom more than I love you.
No, not
No,
Yeah,
what
not
is it?
your mom.
I love
Your mom.
Your mom.
yes,
Yeah.
your mom. I'm
Yeah.
speaking
Tells
to
the
my
kids.
children,
Yeah.
and they're going at it, and I'm like, well, I love your mom more than I love you.
Yeah.
And they get slightly offended by that.
Yeah.
They're like, what? How can you say that? I'm like, you wouldn't be in this world unless I loved your mom that much.
Mhm.
And so,
Yeah.
like, that's
Yeah.
for me, like, that just puts in perspective for me. And
Yeah.
she doesn't necessarily, she's not a fan of it either.
Yeah.
Because
I'm like,
there's
so
probably a
true.
little
Don't
bit,
say
No,
that
so
to them.
true.
Oh yeah.
I'm
there's
amening
probably a
that.
little bit there where
Yeah.
she's like, I don't know, but if I had to pick between you and the kids,
Yeah.
and I don't know what she would pick. I honestly don't know.
So funny.
But I'm telling you, they grow up and they move on with their lives.
Yep.
And
And at
I
the end of the
tell-
day,
yeah.
it's you guys.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
you are
exactly.
gonna, and I've told Benton that you're gonna grow up, you're gonna get married, you're gonna start your own family, and who's gonna stay here with me? Your mom.
Yeah, that's right.
I have to continue loving her,
Yeah.
and so I will love her more than I love you, and you need to be okay with that. You will figure that out one day for yourself. And so I think that's
So
just
good.
some things, some ideas, some things that are kind of going through my mind as I think through priorities, intentionality with marriages, and kind of getting some of the terminology, some phrases that are sticky for me.
And I
So,
think we've had to come to terms with some of the things that are important to our family. We do not bow at the altar of social acceptance. And in terms of what I mean with that is our both of our kids do not have extracurricular activities right now. We do not have margin in our lives for that. So we've had to have a line. Benton was in karate for a little while. He does do camps and all kinds of other social things. But we've come to right now, we quit karate. We don't do any team sports. We're not in gymnastics. We're not doing any lessons at this stage in our lives because of those intentional decisions, because of what our time has to go to, from
Wow.
8 a.m. to 3 or 4 p.m. And because we do have obligations with ministry and business, we have sacrificed what some would call, childhood, I don't know,
Rite of
activity.
passages. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Sure.
And for us, we have to be okay with missing out on that for this season, because that would throw our lives completely out of balance with, our time being stretched, with our schedules, the things that are important to us, our faith, our family, we call it like the 5 F's, our faith, family, fun, fitness, like we have the things that are important to us. And if it doesn't align, we're not going to bow at that altar. And for us, that might be a short term, like we might get him back in something soon. Waverly's asking to do gymnastics, but for right now, we do not have the margin, and we have to be real, have that come to Jesus moment of what can we handle within reason and still achieve the goals that we're looking to that are important, the actual important things. So my son's not going to be an NBA player. We're not looking to spend all of our time, money, and resources on a sport at this point, or whatever it might be. So having to be okay with that and not having that point of connection with some other families. We can't relate to, I'm so burned out. We had gymnastics on Monday and baseball on Tuesday, and
3 soccer games on Saturday.
yeah, we don't spend our time doing that. We can't do that. And that doesn't make us better or worse or different. It just makes us different. And for this season, that's how it is. And I've told many girls who have come to us, like you said with that, like, what do we do? That life isn't like balance, like a seesaw where you're like both suspended in the air perfectly all the time. The balance more comes like a soundboard where some things are up and some things are down for a time. And when you need it to be different, you move those levers up and down, but they're never straight across the board, because that is not going to get the results that you want. There is constant moving and giving and taking and deciding at this season of time what works for us. So those friction points, kind of as far as like what's currently unresolved, is we're always kind of in limbo with what do we add or take away.
Yeah.
And it's a constant, like he said, a constant fighting for the things that are important to us. And I don't know that will ever just go away, or we'll ever just feel like, oh, we've arrived, because it is a continuing battle.
I know for us, and I feel like this is verbiage that I've kind of have had to say out loud in conversation, of being like, I know this is good, but is this the right thing? And we get caught up so often with justifying busyness because it's all good things. that it might not be the right thing. And so, like filling up our calendars, even with, we get invited to all the birthday parties, we get invited to all the celebrations, all the things. Like those are all good things, but are they the right things for us right now? And so we try to be intentional about just the verbiage that we use in our home as well, with our family's values and family choices. Right now, it's kind of like the verbiage is family choices. That's not the choice that our family's going to make right now. And so, with Benton having friends that are in sports and things like that, well, that's awesome. I'm happy that they get to do that. That's not a choice that our family can make right now. And we need to be okay with that. Maybe that choice can come later on in a different time of life or a different season, but that's not a choice that our family can make right now. And that happens from church conversations with things happening there, outside of that at school and business. And so the verbiage the words that we use with our kids is trying to help develop them core values and family values. And so trying to just connect with those things. Hillary mentioned it before, of just having like, if those choices or decisions do not align to one of those values, then it doesn't go. It's off the table.
Yeah, I have two more things, and I know we're coming to the end here, but I have two more things that I just, a long time ago, I heard you mention something that has stuck with me that was said to you guys as you guys were meeting for your license. If I recall this right, it was Bishop Anderson, who is a general superintendent of the Arkansas district, said some incredible advice to you. When you shared that with me, it really resonated with me because there's a lot of truth in this. And I wish more moms and dads would hear this. Okay. So again, you have two kids. They are kids. They're good kids. They are kids. They have energy. They have ideas, personality. They're smart. Okay. I mean, again, that's true, but they are kids. Okay. And again, they take time and energy and attention. Okay. So can you just share that moment of what you learned? And then let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I've been locally licensed with UPCI through the District of Arkansas for 10 years. And at our process, the thing that I forget the name of it now, but wherever you get, whatever they call the day that you get your local license or whatever. So I'm there with our district superintendent, all the other people. And so my wife and I were wrapping up, and district superintendent walks over Bishop Anderson and just gives us a hug and just, talks to us, appreciates us for a little bit, and then just proceeds to kind of give us some, like, out of nowhere, just starts to kind of pour into us. And something that stuck with us that we share with others is, he talked about, you can be the most anointed preacher, you can be the most incredible minister, evangelist, but your success or the ability for you to be able to really be impactful kind of is determined by the behavior of your kids, in a sense. And so he used an example of, we had an evangelist come through, and he brought his family, and it was an awesome service. Great service we had. Awesome evangelist, anointed preacher. But his kids were uncontrollable. They had no control of their kids. And he said, and I just had that thought that just said, you know what? They probably aren't going to be coming back, and that's a shame. And so that just stuck with us. And so for us, that has just been a constant kind of just in the back of our minds of training up our kids, discipling our children, teaching them, respect. And do you have anything else to add
and
to that?
It lives, I like I told you, Pastor, it lives rent free in my head when we travel like this, because I feel that heavily that we can impact my husband's ministry for the good or for the bad. Yeah. And not that I expect perfection from my kids. When we're traveling like this, they are running on less sleep. They're running on sugar and dye. They're not in their best environment. They're not on their schedule. So by no means do I expect perfection. But if we can create that structure or those expectations through the in and out of the day to day, that by the time we get here, it's not a new expectation that they behave. It's not a new expectation that they listen. It's not a new expectation that they make eye contact and introduce themselves and treat other people well. So those touch points of ministry that we're able to have throughout the year are created through our daily discipleship, and that not just like we have to have good kids if we want to be good ministers. That's not it. But that we can bless other people. Our family as a whole can be a blessing to people, and that we can have a negative or positive impact on my husband's ministry or our family ministry as a whole. Because that does translate as well to just even our local church, like
exactly.
To be perfectly honest, ministers' kids are held to a higher standard for whatever reason, right or wrong, fair or not fair. But perfection is not the goal, but that they understand and see my behavior impacts other people, my behavior impacts other things. I can in turn, make an impact on people. So that advice, yes, has lived in my head, not as a threat or as a punishment or anything like that, but as a do your best to strive towards, family ministry being impactful for the positive.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think so many parents can learn that your kids are not brats on their own, right? You allow them to be brats. And however you choose to parent, your kids being unruly, disrespectful, not ill-mannered, that's on you. Mm-hmm. And that you need to lean in, regardless of what your upbringing was, regardless of what your tradition is. Well-behaved kids are a marker. Mm-hmm. And again, I appreciate every mom and dad that put the time, energy, intentionality into help shaping the spirit, the thinking, the mindset, the behavior of their children. And again, that's a mark. And I just appreciate that. There's a lot of weight to that in ministry and just normal church life.
Yeah.
Right? When your kids are misbehaving in church, you need to deal with that. It's okay to deal with that and be the parent. They don't need you to be a friend. They don't need you to be a comfort. They need you to be a mom and a dad that say, no, we're not going to allow that. You're not getting your way. You can throw a fit, go ahead, but I'm not caving into your childish ways.
Correct.
No, I can go off a little bit more, but there's a lot there for sure.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, I would say it's all kids are a product of their environment. So if you're not pleased with your children, the product that you've created, look at the environment in which they're coming out of.
Yeah.
And so, then that puts it back on me. So there's no bad kids. I think it's just the environment that they're in. And so that puts it back on me of saying, okay, what's the responsibility I have to create the environment so my kids can flourish, my kids can grow, and my kids can be good products, good fruit that they're bringing forth. Oh. And so now I'm looking at, okay, what's the conversations we're having in our home? What's the things that they're watching and listening to and taking part in? Where are the priorities of my home?
Oh, good.
All of that stuff is creating that environment, thus impacting the product in which it's being grown in.
And it's a fine balance because they are independent, autonomous people. And so if you rely heavily on your own, I showed you how to behave perfectly and you're not doing it perfectly, you can't take credit for all the good, but you also can't blame yourself for all the, fleshly, sinful nature that is within them.
Personalities.
So it's a very fine balance of taking responsibility and doing the best you can and molding and making and creating them to think independently regarding their impact on the world.
Yeah. Again, this has been so helpful. And I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your transparency here. Just again, real life, real people, real family, real home that desires to do it right. But I'd love to end with this thought here. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter the success or the accomplishments. What matters is that you are spiritually healthy. Mm-hmm. And so, again, to me, that's the goal. And no one can live on a spiritual high all the time. Right. And I know, again, we could say, so what keeps you spiritual? Well, I read my Bible, pray every day. And that, I don't belittle that. So crucial, okay? But there's also something, I guess what I've been just chewing on spiritually myself is that verse that says, you set your affection on things above. Like this means more to me this has more of my heart. This is really, I'm gravitating towards this, and it's a spiritual thing. I'm grateful for your walk with God. You ministered last night, and just so good, so meaningful, and I believe there were some real, true breakthroughs and divine moments that happened last night. And so I'd love for you to just share, just what does it look like for this family to keep God, the kingdom of God, set in your affections, spiritually healthy? What does that look like for you?
What it looks like is going back to small decisions done over a long period of time make the biggest impact. Neither one of us grew up in, I would say, minister homes. So we're trying to figure out this dynamic of ministry and family ministry, and what does that look like for our home? We are, I would say for me, you in 2019, when I was up here my second time, you and I went to Starbucks, and we were in conversation. We were talking about things, and I was asking you questions and such, and I think you just stopped. You kind of looked at me to the side, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but you said, "Are you fighting the call to preach?" And I was just like,
Excuse me?
I think I am. And then you just begin to, just pour out, or you might have actually just been silent and just let me sit there, which was even more painful. Yeah. That actually sounds a little more like what you would do, right,
there,
Billy?
Yeah.
You just let you sit
brand.
there.
Sit in your discomfort.
Kind of like he's looking at you right now.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I came, and I remember I came home, and I had a real heart to heart, and I was in ministry, quote unquote. I was in ministry. I was running our children's ministry, but I was fighting the call to preach. I didn't feel like it was for me. It wasn't. I was like, children's ministry was what I was hiding behind, so I wouldn't have to ever receive the call to preach. And so it impacted my devotion, my relationship. I never wanted to get too spiritual, kind of thing. All this sounds ridiculous. I know it's all me though. And so I remember I came home that summer from this VBS, and I told the Lord that, all right, I don't know what this looks like. I don't think I'm capable of this. I think you got the wrong guy, but I'm going to give you a chance. Sounds so ridiculous, but it was just but I'm going to give you a chance on this. I'm going to make a decision, and I'm going to see how this goes. And I bought a journal that I was just going to start writing things as I read through the Bible, and I just started at the beginning of the Bible, and I put my journal, and I just started reading and started writing things like that. And I wouldn't say anything happened over that period of time that I kind of started that process, but I still have that journal today from 2019 of when I made the decision to say, okay, God, I'm going to give you a chance to see if this works or not. And that was my small decision that has created other small decisions over a long period of time now, to where, the fruit of that is being able to experience what we experienced this week. And it's not me, but my confidence is not in my ability. But now the most thing that's changed is my confidence in Jesus. Mm-hmm. And you guys have probably heard me say it this week, but I truly believe it. Like, I just need Jesus to show up. Yeah. Like, nothing else matters to me. Yeah. I just need Jesus to show up because I'm not good enough. And so that developed prayer life, that developed Bible reading, came to some points where I was like, I don't think I know this for myself yet, so I need to know this for myself. And so now I've taken on just the approach of just lifelong learning and journey with Jesus, and what that looks like in prayer and devotion and study. I was reading some leadership books and some ministry books, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to just take 2 years and just read nothing but my Bible. And so I did that a couple of years ago, where I just read through my Bible, and that's the only book I picked up for 2 years straight, was just read through my Bible. And so now feel like we're now on that side where like the habit has been created. And now it's for me, it's morning prayer. We're in a season where we live just 3 minutes from the church, so I can be up before everybody else, and I head to the church and make me some coffee at the church, and I'm able to pray there and read my Bible for a little bit, and I might come back home when the family gets up and going and can take the kids to school or help out in the mornings and things like that. That's what that looks like for us. For Hillary, it's getting up before the kids get up a little bit, and it's journaling and it's reading the Bible, and she can tell you about kind of just what I know you're kind of on a program or a devotion right now as well. You can talk a little bit about that, but I just wanted to add that in because that was, nobody called that out in me, and you did, and it changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why this place is so meaningful and special to me. The conversation that just it flipped the script for me. Yeah. And so this Goodlettsville and Pastor Dunica and this team hold a very, very special place in my heart and in our family for that reason in particular. And so when I say, like last night, I stood up and said, there's been a lot of grace shown to us because you have let us grow in ministry. And so anything that happened this week is just the fruit of what has been called out in our lives personally.
Yes.
Thank you.
For me, again, I go back to that soundboard, like the balance and the ups and the downs. And I'm reading, doing a Bible recap, reading through the Bible in a year, and it's not going to happen in a year. Like I'm still in Genesis and Exodus. It's going to be maybe read the Bible in 2 years, just because that's the stage of life I'm in right now. Yeah. But it is important that the kids see me try. To me, Justin recently bought them each kind of their next level of the Bible, so we really kind of graduated out of just the picture book, and now we can get to like some learning with some deeper things. And then Benton graduated out of kind of like the action Bible, and he's now more into more of a study Bible. He's all about the facts and, what do you know that actually happened and all these kinds of things. So he's a factoid kid. So being in tune with where they are in their walk, but then letting them just see me try, that when they wake up in the morning, I've got 5 more minutes, just give me 5 more minutes. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can snuggle up next to me, but just listen while I, finish reading or whatever it might be. And then as we go to school in the mornings, as we, whatever that might be, making sure that they get their morning prayers in, that it's not this I don't know, like utopian, blessing real. Of the day. Yeah, It's real. And it is Waverly. It's, 6 lines of bless my teachers, help me shine the light, help daddy have wisdom, the end. And for Benton, it's been cool to see it kind of evolve. And the fact that I'm like, okay, you need to pray for yourself, you need to pray for others, and we need to do, the couple things that we do in the morning. We say our breakfast benediction on the way to school, and it's kind of a blessing over the day that I'm not what I do, and I'm not what I have, I'm not what people say about me, and making sure that their identity in the morning is rooted in Christ. And when they get in the car after school, if they somebody called me a dumbhead. Okay, well, is what other people say about you true? It can be, but in this case, it's not. They are not speaking truth. They're not speaking life, those things, and tying it all back together to what that looks like as far as discipleship and spiritual health looks like. And by no means are our kids gonna, speak, at general conference next year, but they, by all means, we're working towards it in the ways that we know how. And is it perfect? No. Is it beautiful? No. It's messy. It's different. It's unbalanced. It's unscripted, and it's real life, and that's okay. And I was just reminded that motherhood is just that, like parenthood is just that. It's a daily grind, and it's those small decisions over time, and hopefully, by the grace of God, those seeds that are planted and watered will grow and produce fruit that we'll see in the future.
Yeah. The goal isn't for them to preach at General Conference next year. Like I'm
right.
genuinely like
yes.
It's not. It's what you just said. Like watching your kids take intentional steps and growth in their relationship with Jesus. That's so good. Like you said so much in that statement right there, because I think there is that maybe,
grandiose.
Yeah, like, and then you start the comparison trap and all of that. And,
Amen.
The sooner we let all of that go as parents and we focus on the unique children that God has given us and where they're at in their stage and their learning, and we allow them to be,
yes.
Now we shepherd that and we help teach them and lead them, but not not hand down unrealistic expectations that is produced from comparison. Like that is the most dangerous thing.
Yes.
And in ministry, as we are, that is a very dangerous thing to put our kids into that, And so I appreciate the way you just articulated that, because I think it's so great.
I do see our role as protecting them. And it's not just from the world. And it's not just from the things that, fiery darts of the devil, but it is also from those things like comparison, like he said, she said, like it is, I have to be the protector and stand between them and the things that would influence them in both ways, whether it's from, unrealistic expectations in ministry or sinful desires of the world. It's a protection on both sides.
So good.
Thank you. So much appreciate your honesty, transparency. You've helped us today. If you were in this room, I wish you could feel what I feel.
Yes.
And just grateful for you. I pray nothing but God's favor on you. As you guys lead, you're a light, you're an example, and we are so blessed to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. It's been a wonderful week, and then this is a great way to close it out.
Yes.
It's crazy. We didn't even talk about coffee, Justin.
Goes without saying.
I know, right? I mean, your wife is drinking 7 Brew right now.
Why you gotta call me out like that?
And you're drinking
It's
a bubbly.
shame to him.
And we didn't even have any good coffee. Did you have a good cup of coffee this morning?
No.
Yeah, I could tell.
No.
I just
That's why my voice is so low.
Well, hey, we told
Coffee
you
is
guys at
life.
the beginning, we always end our podcast with, Austin, how we say it?
A verse from a volunteer that is not our favorite.
But is an amazing volunteer. It's our volunteer's favorite verse. So, Pastor, who do we have today?
Yeah, we're so grateful for all the volunteers. I know we say this every time, but with sincerity, we're so thankful for every individual that puts their hands to the plow, puts this church on their back and in their heart, and helps lead at a very high level. The culture we're creating is we want to lead at a level that inspires others and brings glory to God. And Excellence does that. And so grateful for all of you. But to this podcast, we want to honor Sister Mallory George. And again, even last night, she's running a camera. I know she helps sing. She's part of our youth group, just a fantastic young leader with so much upside there. Yeah. And her favorite verse is Job 23:10. And it reads, "But he knoweth the way that I take. When he hath tried me, I shall come forth as gold." What an incredible verse. Sister George, thank you. Thank you for all you do to make us better. We're so grateful that God has given us the gift of you.
Mallory, we love you, appreciate you. And hey, guys, thanks for listening to this episode of Between Sundays. We'll catch you next time.